That night, the workshop was quieter than it had ever been. The machines were still, the sawdust had settled, and only one thing looked alive: a crooked door, leaning against the wall like it was ashamed to be seen. Thomas stood in front of it, hands rough and splintered from a lifetime of work. His reputation had been built on straight lines, perfect edges, and doors that closed with a soft, satisfying click. But this door stuck halfway, scraped the floor, and gaped open at the top like a twisted smile. On the workbench, his phone buzzed with new notifications he didn't need to read. Angry comments, refund requests, a video of customers laughing and struggling with this very door in a popular cafe, shared thousands of times. In the headline, his life's work had been reduced to 4 cruel words: the crooked door guy. He ran his fingers along the warped frame, feeling every bump, every corner he'd once decided didn't matter. His chest tightened, as if the air itself was judging him. "It's just a door," he whispered, the words hollow even to his own ears. How did one door ruin everything? The truth he'd spent years ignoring finally pressed in on him. It wasn't just this door. It was every small decision that had led to it. A few years earlier, the same workshop had felt different. The air was full of sharp cedar and fresh varnish, and the rhythmic buzz of tools sounded like music. Back then, people called Thomas the straightest hand in town, and he wore that name like a badge. He knew every customer by first name. He measured twice, cut once, and refused to let a door leave his shop unless it swung like a whisper and closed like a promise. His father had taught him that. "Son," he used to say, "a man can hide behind his words, but never behind his work." Wood remembers. But the town was changing. Cheap, mass-produced doors started appearing in the big hardware stores on the edge of the highway. They weren't as solid, not as beautiful, but they were cheaper. Customers began walking into his shop with the same question on their lips: "Can you do it for less?" One rainy afternoon, as Thomas stared at a stack of expensive hardwood and a pile of unpaid bills, his old friend and sometimes rival, Marco, dropped by. Marco leaned against the bench and shrugged.
"You're still using prime wood for the inner frames?"
he asked.
"Tom, nobody sees that. Use the good stuff on the outside. Save the cheap boards for the inside. Everyone does it."
Thomas frowned. "That's not how my father taught me." Marco smirked.
Your father didn't have a mortgage like this, or taxes like these. Times change. You either adapt or you watch your shop become a museum.
After Marco left, the workshop felt colder. Thomas stood between 2 stacks of wood, one flawless, one full of knots but still technically usable. He thought of his father's words, and then of the bills on the kitchen table.
It's just for the parts they can't see, he muttered. The outside will still be perfect. No one will know. Just this once.
He reached for the cheaper boards. The first time he used the cheaper wood, his hands hesitated, but his mind raced ahead. He reinforced the outer frame with high-quality planks, sanded the edges until they were smooth as glass, and painted the whole door in a rich, deep color that hid every seam. When the customer arrived, a young couple renovating their first home, they ran their hands over the door with wide smiles. "It's beautiful," the woman said. "Exactly what we wanted, and you really helped us with the price. Thank you." Thomas smiled back, a knot tightening in his stomach. He had done the math. By cutting quality on the inside, he had made more profit than usual. The door looked perfect. The couple was thrilled. No one could see what was hidden within the frame. On the way home, he told himself a story. "They got a great-looking door. I stayed in business. Everybody wins. This isn't dishonesty. It's survival." The next time someone said, "Can you do it for less?" his answer came quicker. He had discovered a new trick, and it felt almost clever. Over time, he stopped thinking of it as a compromise at all. It was just adjusting the materials. The doors still swung, they still closed. And as long as no one complained, he told himself, it couldn't really be wrong. With the cheaper materials came more orders. Word spread that Thomas made beautiful doors at fair prices, and the workshop got busy again. He started arriving earlier, staying later, and squeezing more jobs into each week. But with the increase in volume came something else: impatience. One morning, his new apprentice, a quiet 19-year-old named Leo, stood by a door on the sawhorses, brow furrowed.
"Mr. Thomas,"
Leo said, running a level along the edge.
"this one is off by a few millimeters. The top right corner leans in a bit. Should we redo it?"
In the old days, Thomas would have stopped everything to fix it, but the calendar on the wall was covered in delivery dates, and he was already behind. He glanced at the door, then at the clock. Once it's in the frame, nobody will notice, he said, picking up his drill. We don't have time to chase ghosts. Sand the edge a little, it'll be fine. Leo hesitated.
But won't it stick over time?
Thomas sighed, more sharply than he meant to. Listen, kid, customers want fast and affordable. The door closes, right? That's what they care about. Trust me. Leo dropped his eyes and did as he was told. In that moment, Thomas didn't just lower his own standard, he taught someone else to lower theirs too. Soon, little phrases became common in the workshop. It's fine, they'll never see it. Close enough. We'll do it properly next time. Each shortcut shaved a minute here, $1 there, and every time nothing went wrong immediately, Thomas felt more justified. He used to sign each invoice with quiet pride. Now, he signed with a creeping numbness, refusing to look too closely at the gap between what he promised and what he delivered. The corners Thomas cut at work didn't stay in the workshop. They began to slip into the rest of his life like sawdust under a door. He started telling his wife he was almost home when he hadn't even left the shop. He promised his son Daniel that he'd come to one of his soccer games next week for sure. But when next week came, there was always another urgent order, another delivery, another justification. One evening, his wife Elena stood in the doorway of the living room, arms folded, watching him calculate prices on his laptop.
You remember you told Mrs. Patel you'd fix her front door on Saturday?
She asked softly.
And that you'd take Daniel to the park afterward?
Thomas didn't look up.
I'll get to it.
If not this Saturday, then the next. She's had that problem for months.
A week won't kill anyone.
Elena sighed.
That's what you said last month.
He snapped the laptop shut, irritation flaring.
Do you want this house paid for or not? Do you want the bills taken care of? I'm doing the best I can.
She studied him for a long moment.
I know you're working hard,
she said quietly.
I'm just not sure you're working honestly, with them or with us, or with yourself.
He waved her off and went back to his numbers. In his mind, he was still the same man, the careful craftsman, the responsible provider, but in reality, his promises were starting to look a lot like his doors, good from a distance, misaligned when you looked closely. The turning point came on a bright spring morning when a black car pulled up in front of the workshop. Out stepped a well-dressed woman with a confident stride and a sharp eye. She introduced herself as the owner of the Ember House, a new cafe opening in the busiest part of town, a place that, she said, would be on every influencer's feed within a month.
We want a door that tells people there's something special behind this.
She explained, sliding folded sketches onto his workbench.
Warm, inviting, solid, old-world charm with modern strength.
She looked around his workshop, at the photos of past projects on the wall.
I've heard you're the best.
The words settled on him like a weight. Best. She leaned forward.
We're on a tight schedule. We open in 3 weeks. But if this door is as good as they say, people will know your name.
After she left, Thomas felt a familiar mix of pride and pressure. A door in that location, photographed by thousands, could bring in more business than any ad campaign. But the calculations did not look good. The quality of wood she wanted, the custom glass, the ironwork, it all cost more than the budget she'd given him. He stood again between two choices, high-grade wood with thin profit, or his now familiar formula of hidden shortcuts and shiny surfaces. He stared at the sketch, at the potential, at the bills. Just this once more, he told himself. I'll keep the outside perfect, use cheaper wood on the inside, and rush some of the curing. The opening date won't wait. It'll hold. It always has. He marked the order on his calendar with red ink. The Ember House The day priority. he installed the Ember House door, the whole street seemed to be watching. Workers hurried past with boxes, the smell of fresh coffee drifted from inside, and the owner stood nearby, arms folded in anticipation. He and Leo lifted the door into place, muscles straining as they set it into the frame. From a distance, it was beautiful. Rich wood tones, ornate carvings dancing in the light, brushed metal handles that felt solid and expensive. On the outside, it was everything the owner had asked for. Thomas fitted the hinges and tightened the screws, sweat beading on his forehead. He swung the door closed and open, forcing a smile.
See?
He said,
Smooth.
but when he tested it again, more carefully this time, he felt a slight resistance. The bottom edge grazed the threshold with a soft scrape. Leo noticed it too.
Mr. Thomas, it's catching a bit.
Thomas's jaw clenched. He adjusted the hinges, sanded a fraction off the bottom, and tried again. It moved better, but not perfectly. Something inside the frame felt wrong. A subtle twist, a tension in the wood he recognized but didn't want to name. The owner stepped forward, excited.
It's gorgeous. Exactly the look I imagined.
She didn't feel the tiny snag when she first pulled it open. She only saw the glow of the finish, the way the glass caught the sunlight.
We open in 3 days.
She said, grinning.
People are going to love this.
Thomas swallowed hard. As he and Leo walked back to the van, Leo glanced over his shoulder at the door.
Are you sure it's okay?
Thomas forced a laugh that tasted bitter.
It's fine. Doors settle. Besides, we don't have time to start over.
For the first time in his career, he drove away from a job praying no one would look too closely. At first, nothing happened. The cafe opened. Photos of latte art and smiling customers filled social media. The door, in all those images, looked magnificent. Then, the weather changed. Rain came. Humidity rose. The cheaper wood inside the frame began to swell, just a little. Each day, the tiny misalignment grew, like a secret refusing to stay hidden. The first complaint came quietly, a message from the owner saying the door was a bit sticky. Could he come take a quick look? He stared at the message and put the phone face down. I'll get to it next week, he told himself. Maybe it will settle. Maybe it's just the weather. Next week, he was too busy. The week after, he convinced himself the problem was probably small. But the problem didn't stay small. One afternoon, a local vlogger visited the Ember House to review it. On camera, she walked up to the famous door, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, only to struggle with the handle as the door refused to budge. She laughed, exaggerated the effort, and finally yanked it open with a squeak so loud it drowned out the cafe music. Her video went online that evening with a playful title, "Great Coffee, Terrible Door." Viewers loved it. Within days, edits and memes spread. People pretending to fight the crooked door, joking that the true test of strength wasn't the coffee, but surviving the entrance. Behind the jokes, the owner's frustration boiled. She posted a serious comment under one of the videos. For anyone wondering, we paid a premium for this custom door from a master craftsman. It's been trouble from the start. I can't recommend his work. She tagged his business page. Notifications exploded. Old customers began checking their own doors. Some noticed drafts at the edges. Others found cracks, sticking hinges, or warped panels they'd ignored. One by one, messages arrived. Hey Thomas, our door's having issues too. We trusted your quality. What happened? I thought you used the best wood? Complaints turned into demands. Demands turned into refund requests. And refund requests turned into public reviews that read like verdicts. His work isn't what it used to be. Pretty at first, but it doesn't last. Ask him what's inside your door before you pay. The crooked door at the Ember House wasn't just a mistake anymore. It had become a symbol of everything he'd been hiding. Back in his workshop, Thomas watched order after order disappear from his calendar. Calls went unanswered. Messages stayed on red. The machines grew silent. Leo came in one day, hat in hand, eyes sad.
Mr. Thomas, I'm grateful for what you taught me.
He began, voice careful.
But I can't keep learning to work like this. I want to be proud of my doors, not worried they'll fall apart.
He placed his apron on the bench and walked out. The silence he left behind was louder than any saw. Thomas looked around at the photos on the wall. Doors from years before, still straight in their frames, still true. Then he looked at the newer ones. Beautiful, yes, but now each image seems to whisper, what's hiding underneath? He sat down heavily on a stool, burying his face in his hands. Somewhere along the way, he realized, he had stopped being the man his father raised him to be. He had traded integrity for income, long-term trust for short-term gain, and now the bill had arrived, with interest. The crooked door at the Ember House was not an accident. It was a mirror, and for the first time, Thomas forced himself not to look away. Days later, he returned to the crooked door in his workshop, the one he'd taken down from the Ember House after finally agreeing to replace it. He studied every warped board, every rushed joint, every place he'd said, good enough. Then he did something he hadn't done in far too long. He cleared the bench, swept the floor slowly, and brought out only his best tools. He selected the finest, straightest planks he had left, running his hand along the grain until it felt right. This time, he didn't reach for shortcuts. He didn't tell himself comforting lies. He measured 3 times. He let the wood cure fully, even when impatience gnawed at him. He checked and rechecked every angle until the frame was as true as his shaking hands could make it. When the new door was finally finished, it wasn't just a piece of work. It was a confession carved in wood, an apology in the language he knew best. He loaded it carefully into his van and drove to the Ember House. The owner met him outside, arms crossed, hurt still visible in her eyes.
I'm not here to argue,
He said before she could speak.
I'm here to admit I cut corners on your door. You trusted me, and I didn't deserve it. This one is made the way I used to work, the way I should have worked all along. No charge, no excuses.
There was a long pause. Finally, she nodded once.
Install it.
She said quietly. As he removed the old, crooked door, it felt heavier than its weight. It felt like lifting his own lies off their hinges. When the new door swung into place, it moved with a smooth, steady grace that almost made him tear up. Customers pushed it open easily, some of them recognizing him from the viral posts. One remarked, surprised, "Hey, they fixed the door. Feels solid now." The owner watched him pack up his tools.
You know,
She said,
I can't erase what happened, but I respect that you came back and made it right. Not everyone does that.
unable to trust his voice.
In the months that followed, Thomas didn't suddenly become famous again. The orders didn't flood in overnight. Reputation, he learned, returns the same way a door warps, slowly, and only with consistent pressure in the right direction. Some people never came back. Some reviews stayed up, frozen reminders of his worst choices. But a few stories began to spread in quieter ways. A neighbor telling a friend, "He messed up, but he owned it and fixed my door for free." A loyal customer saying, "He's gone back to the old standards. You can feel it in the way the door closes." A young apprentice, not Leo, standing beside him as he explained why a slightly off hinge did matter and how to correct it. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the town, Thomas locked up his workshop and paused at his own front door. Years ago, he had crafted it for his family. Solid, honest, no shortcuts. He ran his hand along the frame and smiled sadly. Crooked doors, he thought, don't start in the wood, they start in the heart. We like to tell ourselves that a little lie is harmless, that one rushed job, one cheap material, one broken promise won't matter. We tell ourselves no one will notice, that as long as the outside looks good, what's hidden inside doesn't count. But wood remembers, work remembers, and so do the people who walk through the doors we build. Every day, in our jobs and our relationships, we are either building straight, honest doors or crooked ones that will one day stick, scrape, and refuse to close. Thomas learned, too late to avoid the pain, but just in time to change, that integrity is not about the parts everyone sees. It's about the parts no one sees but you, the parts that hold everything else together. In the end, the question isn't just, what kind of door are you making? It's, what are you building into yourself when no one is looking? Because sooner or later, the door you've been quietly shaping in secret is the one the whole world will have to walk through. Moral. Moral integrity is built in the parts no one sees. Most failures do not begin with one enormous mistake. They begin quietly. One rushed decision, one excuse, one promise delayed, one corner cut because no one seems likely to notice. At first, the outside may still look beautiful. The work may still earn praise. The lie may still feel harmless. The shortcut may even appear to work. But hidden weaknesses do not stay hidden forever. Pressure reveals them. Time exposes them. And eventually, what was ignored in private becomes visible in public. Thomas learned that integrity is not simply doing good work when people are watching. It is choosing the right material when no customer will ever see it. It is fixing the small flaw before it becomes a larger failure. It is keeping your word when breaking it would be easier. And when you do fail, integrity means something more. Admitting the truth, accepting the cost, and making the wrong thing right without excuses. A reputation may take years to build and only moments to damage, but character can begin rebuilding the instant a person stops hiding and starts acting honestly again. So remember, every choice is shaping something: your work, your relationships, your reputation, and most importantly, yourself. Because the corners you cut today may become the crooked doors you face tomorrow. Build with honesty, even where no one can see.
Every story leaves a lesson and leaves us with a choice. Be kinder, stronger, wiser. If today's story stayed with you, there's another waiting to inspire you. Subscribe to Motivating Morals, where every story leaves a lesson, and every lesson has the power to change a life. Until our next story, keep choosing wisdom.